Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Monday edition of the Computer America Show. Hope all of you had a great weekend. We're doing a little pre-show interview as we before we get started at 10 o'clock. Ben is here with us, and crazy wild weekend.
Still not pleased.
Yes, please, yeah.
I'd rather be in Kokomo.
Yeah. In our second hour guest is not going to be here tonight. We're rescheduling Parallels to another night. So we will have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And in our first hour, we're going to talk about malware with Malwarebytes, all the different things that are associated, how to keep you and your computer safe.
1 minute until showtime.
Safe from malware. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we get started here on a Monday edition of the Computer America program.
When does our 6-week contest end?
This Friday. This Friday.
Really? Okay.
Yep, ends this Friday.
Seems like just yesterday.
Yeah, well. 15 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And Ben, another weekend is by and here, and we're starting another brand new show here on Computer America. So did you have a nice weekend? Do anything of interest?
No, nothing really of interest. We had some nice weather. The warm weather finally rolled in. I'm sure those of you up north do not have the same luxury. I know someone up there who is currently facing like negative 15 degrees. So the warm weather is a Florida thing.
I can't even imagine negative 15 degrees. That's awful.
It's pretty bad. So, warm weather, lovely. No complaints. No complaints.
All right. Well, good. Well, as I said, hopefully all of you had a wonderful weekend, and none of the big movies are all coming out in March. So we're movie buffs here too. So I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. For those of you who get our weekly email newsletter, the show reminder, I know you were expecting Parallels to be here with us in the second hour, but this is live broadcast radio, and things change, from time to time. So Parallels will be here with us on a different night sometime in the future. Keep checking for the schedule. And in this place, Ben and I are going to be doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Okay, so that's for hour 2. And Fort in the chat room said they had rain yesterday. Well, there it is. Okay. Better rain than snow, I would think. So in the first hour, we're going to be talking about malware. I mean, it's nasty. It does things that we don't want to happen to us, and malware can do all kinds of. It's way beyond computer viruses of the earlier days. Things have really, really changed over the years, and what we're going to do tonight is talk about malware and what you can do to keep yourself, your computer, and most importantly, your precious data safe. because there
I
are
mean,
things.
but also if you take the advice in the wrong way, on this show, I'm sure we will show you how to collect all strains of malware on your computer at the same time, which is really what you want. You want to collect them all, collect I collect each threat. That's another goal in life. So either prevent or collect. Up to you. Up to you.
Yes. Well, we have the experts here tonight to talk about malware, and specifically we have a company called Malwarebytes. They are an anti-malware removal and detection product that even the biggest AV apps fail to detect. In fact, all the big antivirus company tech support departments recommend Malwarebytes to their customers in addition to their own AV software. Now that's because Malwarebytes is not a replacement for antivirus technology because you need both to properly protect your PC. So just like having a seatbelt to be safe on the road isn't enough anymore. You need two different technologies, the seatbelt and the airbag, to properly defend yourself in your car. Now Malwarebytes anti-malware catches the zero-day, the polymorphic, and malware in the wild that standard AV technologies were just not built to handle. Now, here to explain how it all works is Adam Kujawa. Adam is the head of malware intelligence for Malwarebytes. Adam, welcome to Computer America. How are you?
I'm great, Craig. How are you?
Okay, thanks for joining us. Oh,
Yeah.
I go the weekend comes up and I forget my responsibilities as a host. If you have a comment or a question about anything that Adam's going to be talking about or we're going to be talking about, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. Email. We have a special email inbox set up when we're live and on the air. It is live, L-I-V-E, at computeramerica.com. You can use that if you're radio shy, you don't want to go on the air, but you have a question. That's a great way to get your question in. You can also join us in our live interactive chat room. Just go to our homepage at computeramerica.com. Right there you'll see it says interact with the show, the button that says chats and live video. Just click that. You'll get a split screen. On the left-hand side, you'll see the entry form for our chat room. You just fill that out. You put in a username, and that's the name you'll be known by when you go in there. Click the connect button, and your browser will move you right into the Computer America chat room. It's just that simple. Got a lot of interesting people in there, and we certainly would love to see you in there as well. And also on that same page is our live Computer America video streaming page, and that begins automatically. When you go to that page, it'll just start up automatically. And the interesting thing about our show now is not only can you listen to the Computer America program, because we are primarily a radio talk show, but you can also watch us now. You can see us. We make that available. The video will just start right up, and you can see myself, you can see Ben, and many times you can be able to see the guests or live demonstrations. It's all on our live Computer America video streaming page. You can see Adam tonight. He's also joining us in our live Computer America video. So not only can you listen to the Computer America show, you can watch the Computer America show. We welcome you to do just that. So let's get to it. Adam, you're head of malware intelligence. What does that mean?
Oh, well, basically, Malwarebytes, our main job is to protect users from malware, and to do that, we need a whole lot of different kind of people. We have a research department that primarily does things like hunting down malware and being able to detect and remove it for the users. And then you have the malware intelligence department. And what we do is we go a bit deeper. We're experts in reverse engineering. We work on education for the users. We write our blog posts. We do any sort of in-depth analysis and kind of gather intelligence on not only what the threat landscape is right now, but what it could be in the future.
Mm-hmm. All right, and you're sort of the head of that division.
That's right.
So for our listeners, I kind of explained it in the opening, but why don't you, in your own way, explain to our listeners what the difference is between computer viruses and malware?
Well, I mean, a computer virus, by the strict definition, is just software that has intent to destroy or disrupt. Malware is kind of an all-encompassing term, so it refers to viruses, spyware, adware, trojans, worms, everything, pretty much. So no longer were we able to just.
So a virus is technically a virus is malware, right?
Virus is malware, yeah.
Okay, so anything bad, mal.
Exactly.
But the viruses are just a small portion of what malware can be, and so some of the things that you were describing, and that's part of the malware um, uh, environment. So why do end users need more than just basic antivirus protection these days?
Well, I mean, what they're faced with out there on the internet, I mean, we used to call it the Wild West. Now I honestly think of it more as like a world war. It's a battleground. When you go online and you open up your browser, you're fighting a war, and there are attacks coming at you from every single angle. It used to be just the one point. You know, you put in a bad disk, or somebody sends you a bad file or something like that, and then, oh, I'm done. And all you needed was single protection for that. And a lot of the time, just being a cautious kind of person and making sure you don't open something suspicious was enough to save you. But these days it's not. These days you have things like drive-by exploits. You have very, very carefully crafted phishing attacks. You have attacks over social media. People who you think are your friends are actually just compromised accounts that are sending you malware. Malicious Office documents. It comes from all angles. So really, when you're thinking about like the airbag and seatbelt analogy, you need more than just a single line of defense. You need multiple lines of defense to hit everything that the other products, the other walls don't hit.
Right. No, it makes sense. It's interesting. I'm looking in the chat room. A lot of people are in there they said that he loves Malwarebytes. And
a lot of people seem to be fans of Malwarebytes.
He says he puts it on his computer and he tells people to run it at least once a week. So there you go. So a lot of our users already are very familiar with Malwarebytes and really, really enjoy it. And that's really gratifying to see. Also, we're obviously doing. You've been out for some. How long has Malwarebytes been around?
Malwarebytes came around in 2009, so we're about 6 years old, going on 6 years old.
Okay.
Not new, but pretty old. Very nice.
Still pretty new compared to some of the old timers out there.
Yeah, it's true. Although sometimes the old time, well, I don't know. You wonder if the old timers are up to speed. Maybe they are. I guess the old timers hire new people, so they are. Because as you say, I remember, the days you put in a floppy has a bad an infected boot sector, and all that stuff is pretty much by the by.
Did you just bring up infected floppies?
Yeah.
Really, Craig? You're talking about old timers, and then you're just describing yourself.
Just because I remember doesn't mean that But anyway, someone told me about it then. Let's talk about some of the latest advanced web threats that maybe most users are unaware of. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the most heinous and dangerous web threats out there right now are called malvertisements, and that's just malicious advertisements. Basically, cyber criminals get in to ad networks, ad serving networks, and the ones that'll put banner ads and things on the pages you visit and things like that. They'll get in there, they'll replace a legitimate banner with malicious code, and as soon as the user sees it, which is almost like a lottery, it's not even confirmed every time you visit a specific page, but any page using this ad network, and as that ad circulates through all the other pages, you may run into it, and when you do, it redirects your browser, it launches a drive-by exploit, and you're infected. Just like that, and you had no idea what happened. You don't even have to be on a shady part of the internet. You don't have to be searching through things that are better left unsaid, but just on a popular website, and next thing you know, you're infected and you don't know what happened.
Are you saying that you can become infected just by looking at a web page?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, drive-by exploits have allowed that for a long time, but usually you have to somehow be persuaded to go there. With malvertising, it takes you there by force.
Really, and then you get you mentioned that you get page jacked. I mean, what does that mean when that happens to you?
Well, what'll happen is that the ad will show up, the code will execute, and it'll redirect your browser. So it'll either open up a new window, or there'd be a hidden iframe inside of the actual web page itself. And that'll redirect you to the malicious site. So while you might not see anything, and you probably won't, and that's how they want to keep it, you won't see now you're being redirected to a malicious site. It'll just happen in the background. If you were watching the network traffic through a scanner or something, you would see all bouncing around all these compromised and malicious websites and servers until you finally get to what we refer to as a landing page. The landing page is where the actual exploit lives and attacks the browser or any sort of web software like Flash or Java.
Yeah, Java. Don't get me started on that. But you see, and that's the key. You really said it, is that in the old days when they put a virus on you and then it would do something funny or whatever. Today they don't want you to know that you have been infected. Is that my understanding? It's not to their advantage. They don't want you to be aware of the fact that you've been infected. Correct?
Well, some do. Some do. So your traditional ones, your password stealers, your bank trojans, the things that are trying to steal your personal information, those guys don't want you to know you're there. They're there. But ransomware does, and ransomware is basically malware that hijacks your computer. We've been seeing it for a long time, talking about it for a long time. Originally, it maybe most people remember anyway. A couple of years back, you'd see these things that they call them like FBI ransom type malware, and basically a screen would pop up and it would say the FBI has seized your computer because of illegal activities. Pay so much amount of money and we'll give you back control. Those were really easy to deal with because all they did was kind of lock the user out using a certain high enough level of blocking within the Windows API. So they didn't just running in safe mode, running an anti-malware, antivirus software, and you're good to go. What we deal with now more so is it's not so many of those, and not even ransomware that tries to pretend to be somebody else. It's just ransomware gets on your computer and then encrypts all your files with highly difficult to break encryption, and then demands you pay them so they'll decrypt the files, which is always a toss of the coin because
you can pay them to sue for that. It's not in their best interest to do that.
Exactly.
And so with something like Malwarebytes, you detect this, but can you also remove it? Because that's another thing. Because detecting it is one thing, but actually removing these this bad code is a job unto itself. Does Malwarebytes detect, and will it also remove?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Malwarebytes will, like you said, detect, and we also remove the malware aspect. If we're talking about like the FBI ransomware, like I said, easy to get rid of. Even the CryptoLocker, the encrypting ransomware, not hard to get rid of the actual malware. But if it's after the fact, if you're running a scan after you've already been infected, after all of your files have been encrypted, then it's a whole other story. And this isn't just a problem with just a few AV. This is an entire problem with the entire security community. And it's really made a push for people using backups and for having active protection, which is honestly one of the most important things you could have these days. What I mean by active protection is that you don't just have a scanner that you run every week. You have something that runs on your system all the time, looking out for something malicious or blocking attempts to launch something malicious. That's the best mode of defense against things like encrypting ransomware, honestly.
And I know that like in the past that wasn't really feasible because computers, in terms of processing power, for the average person, it was pretty low. There really wasn't much overhead. But lately, computers continue to advance every day, as we all know. Do most people have computers, you think, that can actually run some kind of security software that will actively protect them instead of just like it? Because I remember just, whenever I would run an antivirus scan or whatever, or just scan my computer, it would come to a halt. So like I'd, go to bed, turn it on, wake up, and it would be done. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, do you think most people can afford to, have it active?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of software out there, including Malwarebytes anti-malware, that has it's very lightweight. It sits on the computer. It does what it needs to do. It doesn't, take up a lot of processing power. There might be suites of antivirus programs out there that still have that old, if you want to run the deepest scan you possibly can, we will take up all your processing power gladly. But most of them have light versions and can quick scans, things like that, things to just directly take care of the immediate problem rather than running the entire slew of scans and things like that. So that's kind of an answer to that problem that's been plaguing people, like you said, for many years.
But what I'm getting from you is though, is it do you get a point? Do you reach a point? It sounded like you said that. You reach a point where it's too late and you can't do anything about it, or can you apply Malwarebytes to fix a problem no matter how late in the game it is? I mean, or is there a point of no return where really you just have to go to a backup or start all over again?
There is a point of no return with any product. It really depends on the malware you're dealing with. Some malware, some encrypting malware has been broken, and there are ways to decrypt files, and the people that get infected with that are very, very lucky. But for most people, it's game over. After the keys to the encryption are kept on remote servers that may or may not even be active at the point when the user's running a scan. It's not stored locally. It's not easily decrypted, and we're talking about RSA level encryption here. So it's basically you just encrypted your files and you forgot the password kind of thing, and there's no program that can really help you with that.
Well, why? And why would a company? I thought it was supposed to be undetected. They want it to be undetected. They go ahead and encrypt all your files, and you can't get to them anymore. What's the purpose?
Well, this is a different kind. They're holding your files for ransom. They give you the option, and they say, all right, we've encrypted all your files. Pay us $300, $600, 2 bitcoins, however much they go for these days, and we'll decrypt your files. We promise we'll decrypt your files. And there's been cases we've heard about where that actually has happened, but there's been more cases where that hasn't happened. And the worst part of actually paying the ransom is beyond just losing out of the money, but that money is going to fund additional attacks by these guys. It's going to reinforce their belief that this is the right kind of attack to launch. So we advise to never ever pay that ransom.
And the only thing you have is if you have a backup of your data. That's the only thing they can save it. Really.
Well, and in a lot of cases, Windows, it's automatic backups. Restore to a previous version, things like that. That actually does work. So even setting up something like a local backup, as far as the operating system goes, I mean that could save you from a lot of the different threats. I highly advise that you back up remotely. Have a cloud storage, encrypted, secure server. Back your things you really want to keep, back them up there, and that's just good practice for more than just dealing with ransomware. I mean, that's good practice if your hard drive is fried or something like that. It's something not enough people do, and it's actually a pretty cheap method of these days. It's not that expensive.
Now, of course, we're talking about ransomware, which is just one category of.
Right.
What about the ones that just try to remain surreptitiously, active on a computer, and then they're like keyloggers, where all these different things. Now, will Malwarebytes detect those and remove those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, and like I said, with the ransomware, we will remove the malware aspect of it. But if it's too late, so.
I see. In other words, if you wait too long and your files are encrypted, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
But at least with keyloggers and that's other things. They're trying to steal passwords when I go to bank sites or hijack my browser to look at a phishing site or whatever it might be. Malwarebytes can detect those and remove them. Is that what you're saying?
And we're one of the best at it, honestly. We actually focus more so on the brand new threats. We don't look back at threats that are 3 or 4 years old. It's one of the reasons we're able to run our scans so quickly, so efficiently. We just want to detect it, and we just want to get rid of it, and we are very, very good at that.
And now let me ask you, now when you have an old thing like that, I mean, you only look at the more modern, so I mean, how do you determine when something is old or that it's not being used anymore? I mean, how do you make that determination?
That's usually our detection vectors. If we see that something hasn't a certain kind of vector hasn't been tapped in the last year or so, then we say, all right, well, there's no longer malware that utilizes this specific vector, so let's clear it out and make room for more stuff. It keeps our database light and makes our scans faster.
But can they go? Then can the nefarious people who are creating this stuff say, okay,
Greg, it's like you just found a loophole in the system, and you're like, how do I abuse this? Isn't this why they run Malwarebytes with an additional anti?
Yeah, well, you see, what we do is we keep on top of all the brand new stuff. We have people out there. We have systems analyzing all the newest threats, all the drive-by exploits, all the phishing attacks that we can get our hands on. So if malware decided to pop its head back out there using the same method it did before, we would find it, and within less than an hour, probably less than half an hour, we would have it detected. But we do always recommend that people use antivirus in combination with anti-malware software. And the reason for that is that if the off chance you possibly get infected by something that is old, that is no longer really relevant to everybody but just to a couple people, then you're going to be glad you had it. And this doesn't even have to be, a high-end expensive suite that costs you $100, a month to run. This could even be just Microsoft Security Essentials,
Okay. So you keep rest of the latest ones, but if someone who's designed these things say, oh, we haven't been detected, we haven't used this in 2 years, and we've kind of fallen off the list. Let's activate it again or something. You're saying you already have that, when they do a complete full sweep, or how does that happen?
The malware?
Yeah. In other words, let's say a piece of malware has not been used now for 2 years, and you think, okay, it's not on the active list anymore. We can kind of forget about it or put it back. But then the people who design this say to themselves, oh, look, we haven't used this in 2 years, and we've fallen off things. Let's use it again.
Well, see, I mean, that wouldn't be the good business sense in the eyes of the malware creators if you think about it. Because while we may no longer actively look for that particular malware, every antivirus in town knows about it.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right.
And Adam, one thing and when I think malware, I guess I'm just one of those selfish Americans. I really do think of it from like an American-centric point of view, and of course, internet users, there are tons of them. I haven't took a head count lately, but I'm sure it's above 1 billion at this point. And you said that you were in charge of intelligence, and you said something about vectors or something like that. So let's say that here in America we've had computers and viruses for at least since early 90s, what have you. Malware is nothing new to a lot of people. But let's say in developing countries where people are first getting their hands on smartphones, they're first getting their hands on laptops, India, China, Africa, that kind of thing. For those kinds of people, are you collecting infection rates among those communities, or is it just in Eurozone and America?
We collect malware from all over the world. I mean, everywhere that it's being spat out that we can get our hands on it, we collect it. If it's prevalent enough to become a problem internationally, it's a problem enough for us, and so we start detecting that. We produce our product in multiple languages so that hopefully we can help protect people in other countries. But places like China, they have their own AVs as well. So I mean, there's protection on all fronts if you think about it, beyond just what's happening here in the States. And honestly, most of the malware comes from outside of the country itself. So, and it doesn't just target the U.S. I mean, you see ransomware. If we can go back to that FBI ransomware, and I say FBI, but in reality, we saw variants from over 24 countries, all in different languages, all with different versions of whatever the FBI is for that country. From Interpol and things like that. So it's an international problem, but luckily malware is only written in so many languages. So
are you guys sort of like the CDC? I know they keep samples of viruses like smallpox and everything. For every sample that they have, they keep it in the labs and just for the posterity to make sure that they have it again. Do you keep all the samples of all of the virus malware that you find that's somewhere in a vault somewhere or a storage online?
And we have a lot of offline storage. We don't like to keep that online. I kind of think of it as the containment unit from Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So you do keep samples of what it was? I mean, past malware, you keep that?
Yeah, oh yeah. If we ever need to look back, if we ever need to do some more analysis, if we ever want to look deeper into how they do things or get some idea of where the trend might be going. So we hold on to those kind of things. Just, I mean, you could think of it as a museum, you could think of it as a lab, a specimen lab, whatever you want, a prison, It's basically the one part of my, computer that I don't run a scan through.
See, you're saying like a museum and a lab and that kind of thing, and all I'm thinking of is like, yeah, Chuck has a drawer full of flash sticks that are just packed with definitions for malware, and like he pulls it open, there's like 500 little flash sticks in there, all with viruses in them.
One of these is my good one. Which one is it?
Organized. I would hope that's a little bit more organized than that. I'll tell you. Well, listen, I want to talk a little bit more about how some of these attacks are carried out and what people can do more specifically to protect them. And when we come back, let's talk a little about the top 3 mistakes most users make when it comes to online security. But we're coming toward the bottom of the hour, Adam, so we're going to take a little break, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, you listen to the Computer America Show. We're talking to Malwarebytes. Adam Kujawa is here with us. He's the head of Malware Intelligence. And you, as I said, if you are just joining us, in hour 2, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. You listen to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network. Malwarebytes is our guest this hour. We're going to break for some commercial messages, and then we will be right back. You listen to the Computer America Show. Don't go anywhere.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No hair removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No hair removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Hey, it's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time the QNAP, that's QNAP, model TS131 Turbo NAS. NAS is network attached storage. Now, in rethinking workspaces, we decided that a scanner should, something like a shredder, be in one go-to place that's not your desktop. We think that a modestly powered notebook and one or more scanners could have a place of their own. The idea is that when the need or the mood strikes, we can take a few minutes now and again to feed it sheets to digitize. If the notebook has the scanner software configured to use a folder on a network-attached drive as its target, and to have OCR run on that folder, then other PCs on the network can map that drive and benefit from those scanned images now being searchable. That leaves the challenge of backing up the NAS. QNAP sent 2 of their TS-131 Turbo NAS single-bay gigabit NAS products to fill the bill. These are intelligent boxes with a dual-core ARM Cortex-A9 processor, and believe me, their capacities far exceed our intended usage of them. We put a Seagate SATA 3 drive in each NAS housing. By mapping only one of the NAS products to all of the workstations on the network and both of them to the scanner station's notebook, we're able to use Casper, which is a nice overnight Delta imaging backup product, to update the image of the main NAS to its companion. Bottom line, QNAP TS-131 Turbo NAS devices let us stay speedily and reliably connected to results for functional devices we wanted to disconnect from our desktops. This is Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. That was a brand new News Tip Bulletin Review that was smoking off the presses. You would be surprised how recently that was edited together. So yeah, that was Marty Winston, and here we are here with Malwarebytes and Adam Kujawa here specifically, and we were just about to get into how do those attacks get carried out, being these advanced web threats, and what can people do to protect themselves against them, and I guess answer that one, and then also, more times than not, whenever someone comes to me with a problem, it's like, oh, my computer's acting funny, their immediate split-second thought is, oh, it's infected with malware. It's all over the place. And, so I guess, because there can be many, many things. It could be your internet connection. It could be just, dirt in your fan causing your computer to overheat. There's a lot of things that happen to a computer, but it seems like everyone is just so eager to jump to someone somewhere is attacking my computer. So I guess, answer, how do they get carried out? How do they protect themselves? But also, how do they identify what is actually a malware attack?
Well, these days, what is actually an attack, what is classified as malware to us anyway, has changed a lot, even over the last couple of years. What other people would call just annoying toolbars and things like that, we refer to them as potentially unwanted programs or pups, and we go after those. Specifically, more so than anybody else does. And what those are, like I said, toolbars, search helpers, things like that. And while they might just sound kind of like an annoyance, we've actually seen types of those of pups that'll install malicious software in addition. They'll run. We've seen a few that run Bitcoin miners on your system. We've seen all kinds of crazy stuff done by what's supposed to be legitimate software. So, when you're talking about malware, while it might not be specifically the kind of malware you think of, but nonetheless, if it's draining system processes, it can still be messing up your computer use experience. Period.
But to carry Ben's point a little further, Adam, is that for example, a failing power supply. An intermittent failing power supply can cause your computer to do all kinds of weird things that I've seen failing power supplies do all kinds of strange things. And how is someone to know? Oh, how can they identify that this is really not a malware? This is a bad power supply or something. I mean, is there something that is there something identifiable really? Say, oh, this is a malware problem. Or, oh no, this is a hardware problem that you're having.
Well, I mean, there are the really obvious ones, like I said, if your browser starts going to a weird search engine, if you start seeing your webcam turning on and off for no reason, if you're just general things going awry, as far as within the operating system, not necessarily pertaining to the performance, things get moved around. You see your computer comes on at odd hours for no reason, things like that. From sleeping and things like that. But I always recommend, if you think that it might possibly be malware, just run a scan. I mean, it's really easy to do. You can get Malwarebytes anti-malware is our scanner is free. The same scanner we use for our premium product, it's always going to be free. Just download it, run it. It depending on how big your hard drive is, it could take an hour. It could take 10 minutes, but at least you'll know for sure. Hey, I'm infected with malware, or this is something else.
Right. Okay. It makes good sense to do that. And when you find something, then you say, okay, we can remove it for $14.95.
Oh, come on! We went after a lot of guys like that, and we still do anytime we see them. Actually, one of the big problems we've had to deal with lately are what we call tech support scammers. These people that'll cold call, users. They'll push pop-up ads and say your computer is experiencing a problem with Netflix. Call us and we'll fix it, or something like that. And then they'll charge people $400 to put Malwarebytes on their computer and put up a fake alert, or go in your event viewer and say, oh, look at all these alerts. Oh, you're infected with malware. And it's pretty despicable.
Now, it's human nature. People are doing this because it's working for them. I mean, if this wasn't working, they wouldn't do it, right? People will continue to be, I don't like to use the word gullible, but I mean, people are, because people continue to, go along with them. Then that's why they continue doing it. I mean, if people said, "Oh, I know this is a scam," and after a few hundred of those, or they're going to stop doing it, right? But they're not. What is it that we can do to get everybody to know, that when they get contacted by a company, say, "Hey, we're tech support. We detected this. And we want to remove it." You just say, "Stop, scam." Click, something, we know.
Education is key in all aspects of computer security, and especially when it comes to tech support scammers. Letting people know, telling your friends and family about these things, that they happen. I mean, there's been news reports about it, numerous blog posts and news articles. Anything you can think of, we push it out there. We're trying our best to let everybody know. But unfortunately, it's just kind of the nature of the beast that, if you look back 20 years ago, very few people knew how to use a computer like they do today, right? And even 10 years ago, same thing. Now, we have such an advancement of technology. There's so many more things to do on a computer. You got your Facebook, you could watch movies, whatever you want. And, if you think about it, the people that are really getting scammed are older folks. They're the ones that don't try to keep up, because it's just too much. See, the technology moves too quickly. It's just too difficult to keep up with everything that's going on. And when something goes wrong, you don't want to sit there and stare at a computer that isn't working for 2 hours trying to figure it out. You want to get some help, Or if you have seen something like processing power slow down, or start seeing your web browser going funny places, you notice something's wrong, but you don't exactly know what to do. Oh, there's a pop-up that says, I just call these guys and they'll help me out,
Yeah. Okay.
And they already paid hundreds of dollars for their computer to begin with, so maybe in their minds it seems right that they pay another few $100s to get it fixed.
Wow. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you're calling the top 3 mistakes most users make when it comes to online security. All right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Well, one of those is they don't follow what I call security practices, and this is kind of like caution with just a dash of paranoia. The internet today, like I said, is a war zone, and those of us that work in computers, those that live in this world of computers, it's always on the back of our mind. It's how we do things. We see a website looks kind of sketchy, we stay away from it. We see an email, for most of us, it's pretty easy to identify, hey, that's a phishing attack. And things like that, basic things. But then you've got, it's almost kind of like the oldest people and the youngest people fall for the worst stuff. The older people, because they don't quite know all the protections that they should follow. The younger people, because they ignore them. If you see a rat, a remote access Trojan, that actually steals your keystrokes, steals your passwords, watches you on your webcam and things like that, was being spread not too long ago through Skype. And basically what happened was you get a Skype message from a friend of yours, and the message said, "LOL, is this you?" And it had a link to a file, and you just downloaded the file, and and it had the icon of an image,
Right.
that was faked. You open it up, you're infected. You know, teenagers, younger people, people that are just really into the social scene right now. That's very, very alluring to them. You know. And it worked, and it spread like wildfire. And that's one of the big problems, the big mistakes that are made right now, is that people are very trusting of places they think they can trust all the time. But that's exactly where the attackers are going. That's exactly where the criminals are targeting users. They go to Facebook, they go to Twitter. You know, they do everything they can to try and sneak through any protections that these companies have already set up to try and prevent them from getting in. And you know, people get a hit that way.
I'm getting the feeling you're saying that age is a demographic that is sensitive to malware attacks, or the being subject or getting a successful malware attack. One of the factors is age.
I think it for the consumer, for the average user, I think it has a big part of it. Yeah, age is probably, like I said, a big part of it. Just general awareness. Things like that. So, I mean, like I said, if you're younger, you're going to be using things like Twitter and Facebook and all the social media. You're going to be using your computer as it's like your best friend. You know, you keep it on you at all times. You never look away from it, and therefore you're open up to attack if you don't follow, you know, common security practices.
So it's not only the senior citizens. You're saying it's the younger people too that are just as susceptible.
Absolutely.
But no, I look at Ben. Ben is to me he's very savvy. He knows about computers. Do you feel when you use Facebook or whatever that you're subject to attack? Do you get any of these things? Do you feel comfortable, or are you more aware of it?
So when are you going to pull out the little plush computer and say, where did the hacker touch your computer? That's the feeling I'm getting right now. Personally, no. There are plenty of traditional scams, like people you don't know who just add you lately. I've seen a couple of my friends, their accounts are actually hacked, and they start spreading links that they would never spread by themselves. You know, you have to alert them right away. But in terms of me actually being susceptible to a hack, I'm one of the few people, just because of the nature of what I do. I don't trust anything, even if I click that checkbox that says yes, I trust you. I really don't. So it's but I've seen enough malware and enough shady activity happen on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, like all these sites, that you constantly have to have your guard up. Well, you said it, where as soon as you log on to the internet, you're stepping into a war zone. It's no joke.
You know, so all that kumbaya and coming together, we're gonna have fun. The malware people are ruining it for everybody else.
Well, they're always going to.
Yeah, they're taking the trust that you have, and you're saying no, don't trust anybody on the internet. You can't. I don't know. Maybe it's a reflection of life. I mean, when you go out and you meet somebody for the first time, and they're gonna, are they trying to sell me something? I mean, is it that much different than on our day business?
No, I've made the comparison on numerous articles and blog posts talking about how the tricks these guys use, while they may be of a technical nature, if you go down to the core of just one person trying to scam another person, it's around since the dawn of time. I mean, that's just the same kind of thing. Someone trying to sell you some magical hair growth thing. Someone telling you, oh, I'm hurt, I need help in this alley, and then getting mugged. It's the same kind of thing.
I mean, I see today we're using Craigslist, and we put something up for sale on Craigslist, and I think it's anything over a certain amount of money, we get inundated with, oh, we want to buy this and we want to buy it, but everyone, the area code is from a place that we don't know, and the second thing is that they use very bad grammar. It's really terrible grammar, and then the third thing is that they give an excuse why they can't use their cell phone. They're in the military, or they're physically. It's those three things are like little red flags that go off and say, hey, this is a scam. Don't So we see this everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, usually, any form of attack, any form of scan, it usually has its original, developers, creators. They'll start using it, and then you get copycats, and everybody in the cyber, crime underground is using the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excuse me. We see the same thing with malware too. Just like I was talking about the FBI ransomware, we saw numerous variants of the same kind of attack. They were all from different gangs. They were all for different amounts of money. They might have changed the way they did things a tiny little bit, but in general, it was all kind of the same. And that's kind of the Achilles heel of the malware world, in that there's only about a handful of people actually doing, creating the bad stuff, but then thousands of people spreading it.
Wow. If they can only get to the bad ones, but it's just. How many pieces of malware, new pieces of malware, appear on a daily basis? What are we looking at?
Variance-wise, across all the different families, you gotta, depending on the time of year. Right now is a pretty heavy time of year for new malware to come out. The bad guys actually do take holidays, and you're looking at hundreds of new variants a day.
Wow. And Malwarebytes, your job is to keep up with all these different variants?
Absolutely. And like I said, it's their Achilles heel, and a lot of you could ask any other antivirus, any malware producer, and they'll say the same thing. The fact is that when you got the really bad new threats, those are the ones you target, those are the ones you take out. All the copycats are a little easier to take out because they're all so similar to the original. A lot of them do things. They can change in 3 days. They can have 3 different versions of the malware, each one designed slightly differently to evade detection, but at the end of the day, so similar enough that they will still get caught. So that's a really good thing for us, but I have a feeling that won't last forever. So.
How many people are on your staff of Malwarebytes doing all of this?
We've got a staff of I think we're between 150 and 200.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the research side goes, we have about 3 or 4 dozen people.
And they're all constantly watching for new variants. And are they just going on the internet looking for it, or they get reports? How do you find this stuff?
Well, I can't give away too much of our secret sauce.
No. Exactly.
We have people that do go out. We do the manual side. We get input from users, but we also have a lot of automated systems set up. Things like honeypots, things that grab new malicious URLs, things like that we scan through, checking anything we can. So.
Wow. Are you ever afraid that someday somewhere someone's going to create something that's so exotic or out of this, that it's just going to avoid detection? So that's what happened sort of with Stuxnet when it first came out. No one had seen anything like it before, and it was, are you afraid that something else might come along like that eventually, or is something like that inevitable? You think?
Yeah, it is inevitable. But the thing is that when you're talking about Stuxnet, you're talking about heavily resourced teams of programming geniuses, brought together, who are probably highly paid, who have lots of time to work on this stuff, and when you look at that, and the fact is you only see like a very small amount of it, if you're lucky to catch it while it's doing its thing. It's not spread out all over the internet. It's not
very targeted too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's targeted, so you're not going to see it everywhere. So that's why it makes it sound so much more scary when you're talking about things to go after every user it can. There's going to be mistakes made. It can't hide as specifically as it wants to, because somebody will notice it, because somebody's going to use a type of system that it wasn't designed to hide from. Yeah,
exactly.
And also, it's a conveyor belt. It's a production line when it comes to the malware. It's fueled by people that want to return on their investment. And that's honestly one of the biggest changes. We talked about viruses and floppy disks and stuff like that. Back then, it was just a bunch of, people that were messing around, people that were, just trying to cause havoc or just show that they have skills and things like that. Now you've got actual organized crime involved in this stuff. You know, there's money being made. It used to be about notoriety, about sticking it to the man or whatever. Now it's all about money, and when it's about money, then things get brutal.
Adam, we got about 6 minutes left. Talk a little bit about the top 3 best practices everyone should follow to better protect themselves online.
Yeah, well, I mean, those pretty much go along with the top 3 mistakes they make too. Like I said, the security practices. The other one is updating software. One of the main ways that exploit kits, drive-by exploits, malvertising, they attack a user is by exploiting a vulnerability that's already known about, usually already known about, in Flash, in your browser, in Java. So the best thing you can do is update those applications as often as possible. Every time you see a little pop-up that says, hey, update me, update it. You know, it may be an inconvenience, but honestly, it can save you a lot of heartache later on. Mm-hmm. This is also the same for security software. You know, if you're running something like Malwarebytes, or you're running Symantec's products, or Kaspersky, or even Microsoft Security Essentials, if you haven't updated it in a year, then it's not going to be very effective against the newer stuff. You know what I mean? So that's very important. And then, of course, what we talked about earlier with backups, prepare for the worst case scenario, because even though it may never happen to you, and even though you might think that you're invulnerable to these attacks because you know, you'll never fall for them, or you use security software and stuff like that, these bad guys, they're smart. You know, they're smarter than you think, and they will do anything they can to get to you. So it's better to prepare for when they actually succeed, if they succeed, you know, if and when. It was kind of a saying we used to have when I worked at a snowboard shop about telling people when they fall. We'd say, if and when you fall, not just if you fall, you're going to fall. So, so it's best to prepare with backups, you know, just keeping things ready for if things go down, if things go bad, you can come back quickly.
Yeah. And lastly, Macs. Are they less vulnerable than Windows systems, or
depends on who you ask? Honestly, the architecture of Macs make it more vulnerable, but they're not as commonly used. They become more commonly used, and we've seen a reflection in malware that shows that. We've seen malware that attacks Macs specifically. We're seeing malware that attacks Linux as people move away from Windows. Just like the mobile side, we see things attacking Android phones and iPhones. And a lot of the aspects, a lot of the way that the attackers are going right now is not so much against the actual software, but against the people using the software. And that false sense of, you know, invulnerability that some Mac users have and some Linux users have is the biggest. It's like Christmas for the bad guys. They want you to think that you're safe, because that's when you're going to fall for it, you know?
Yeah, you're saying a lot of it is social engineering, you know.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. That's a huge part of it, and that's, you know, when you're talking about cybercrime and you're talking about organized crime, that's when it all came into fruition. You no longer were dealing with just computer versus computer. Now you're dealing with, you know, bad guy versus normal person.
Tell us about Malwarebytes. You say it's free. Where can they go to get it? What platforms is it available for? Just give us a
Malwarebytes.org, Malwarebytes Anti-Malware. Our scanner is free, like I said. It's the same scanner we use for our premium product. Our premium product is between $25 and $30 a year, and it has active protection where it stops the malware before it can even execute. It has web protection to block you from going to any malicious sites. You should check out one of our newest products, which is Anti-Exploit, which actually prevents exploits from executing on the system, so that even if you do come across something like malvertising or a drive-by exploit, the malware will never get to you. But yeah, like I said, Malwarebytes.org. For you Android users, we do have a mobile product. It's called Malwarebytes Anti-Malware Mobile, and I highly recommend checking it out.
And if you go to our website at computeramerica.com, click on our show notes page, you'll see today's show, February the 23rd, and we actually have a link right there to Malwarebytes. It's up, and you'll see the description of the hour with Adam. It also mentions Adam Kujawa on there, but we actually have a link, Malwarebytes. Just click on it, and it'll take you right to the website, and you can check out all of the products there for yourself as well. Because if you put in malwarebytes.com rather than .org, you know, at least you have that link there. But it is malwarebytes.org. and check it out. And again, you heard it's free, and then they have the professional version and all the different options available at the Malwarebytes website. Adam, I want to thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
Thank you, Craig. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, a lot of fun having you here, and I use it, and I'm pretty sure Ben uses it too. Check it out, and as I said, all listeners and download it. Hey, it's free. Do it. And again, thanks, Adam, for being with us here tonight at Computer America.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. Have a good evening. Good night.
Right. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Hi. Well, good night. All right, so there you go. Malwarebytes. You can check it out again at computeramerica.com on our show notes page. As I said, we're going to continue on in the second hour. We're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. We've got some interesting stories coming up here, Ben. What are some of the ones? I see in-game graphics settings explained. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one for anyone who's ever gone into the graphics settings of a computer game and was like, what, anti-aliasing, light shading, what are all these? So we're going to explain that. There's a lot of stories going on from last week about Lenovo putting malware on their computers, the fallout from that, as well as Intel's in the news, and Snapchat being sold for $19 billion. Lots of cool, factual stories.
And again, we're going to be talking about that later on in the. Oh, I just see Adam just showed up in the chat room. I was just saying hi there, and joining us in the Computer America chat room. Ben mentioned our contest, and yes, our contest is going to be ending
this Friday.
This Friday, right? Exactly. If you go to our contest page at computeramerica.com, the Logitech contest ends Friday, February the 27th at 12 midnight. Okay, we shut it down. Then over the weekend, we'll draw the 3 winning names, and this Monday, March the 2nd, we'll announce the 3 big names. So why wait another 6 weeks? Get over there and do it now. Get your entry in now. All right, you're listening to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, and on the IRN Radio Network. We got computer and technology news coming up. We're going to take a short, quick break, and then we'll be right back for another hour of the Computer America Show.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it was fun having Adam on the first hour. He's in the chat room now, so if anybody wants to say hello to him, head over to the Computer America chat room and stop in and say hello. He's getting a nice welcome as we speak, and I'm glad to see that. Okay, so I learned a few new things.
Yeah, you might have to update your spiel about how malware doesn't like to be detected, because obviously there are some that's all they do. They let you know they're there, they're loud, they're proud, and they're trying to get your money.
That's right, and they do a very good job of it. So you have to be careful. Anyway, we've got some great computer news stories, and I think unless you have anything else to talk about, I think we should start doing them.
All right.
All right, let's do it. Tonight's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system for free. That's right. Everything at the slimwareutilities.com website is completely free. There's no freemium versions. You just use them. I suggest that you download them all, keep them, use them when you can. We use them here in our household, and I highly recommend them. You'll be very glad that you did, and you'll thank us for it. slimwareutilities.com. And in this first story here, actually, well, actually, these are a couple of them here of a litigious nature. I'd actually like to do this first one though. These in-game graphic settings explained. And this is quite a long story, but I think we can get into it. And what we can do a little bit here is that I don't know if this goes into DIY necessarily, because I know we're finishing the DIY, but you know, there are all these different settings when you buy a game, Ben. And obviously, you know this extremely well. And they have a lot of these terms there, and a lot of you might not know what they are. And so this article, I think, very nicely kind of explains some of these rather esoteric terms that what you see.
Because no longer are the days you log into a game and you go to the graphics or the the options menu and it says low settings, high settings, medium settings, that kind of thing. No, gamers, and because there's so many different types of hardware, especially with computers, you can change pretty much every aspect of a game's graphics to better suit your computer and have a better experience. So they let you tinker with everything, even though I'm sure everyone out there does not know what everything means.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, again, this is an article from Maximum PC. Ben Kim actually does it. It's a guide to interpreting game settings. And this is PC gamers have been fiddling with graphics settings since the dawn of time, but it takes a special kind of know-how to understand what each of those settings actually does. And so it doesn't help that there aren't any standard naming conventions, which means that options like model and object quality are usually one and the same. But to help clarify, they've rooted out what all of the most common graphic settings actually do. Okay. Again, keep in mind the names of the settings can vary between games, so usually best judge it before making too many changes. Okay. Now, the first term is something called anti-aliasing. And that is that anti-aliasing, or AA, is a setting that most gamers are probably familiar with. Although there are different forms of anti-aliasing, they all attempt to smooth over the jagged edges of objects, or jaggies, as they are affectionately called. I've woken up with a case of the jaggies a couple of times, but these visual artifacts are a consequence of the very nature of presenting an image on the screen. See, individual pixels are assigned colors, and these combinations of colors rendered as individual objects have jagged edges. You'll see the letter A, for example. You look at the slanting of it. You'll see like a staircase. It'll look like a little staircase on the side. That's what they call jagged edges. And anti-aliasing creates what our eyes perceive as a smooth line in their place. It actually tricks the eye into seeing a smoother
Because if you get down to it, pixels are all squares. So when you want to make a diagonal line using just squares, you're not going to be able to do it, especially because you can't overlap. So you can't get any kind of overlap. But if you make a diagonal line with pixels, you're going to get something that looks like a staircase. And anti-aliasing helps to blur that line and makes it look straighter, even though it's just a trick with the graphics.
Right. It actually tries to fill in those little staircases with lighter shades of gray or color to smooth it out. It really isn't smooth, but what it's doing, it's filling in little areas with shades, different shades of gray or black and white, rather than just black and white. And so the eye, and then of course as the image gets more complex, the anti-aliasing tends to work better than just trying to smooth over the side of a letter A, and it's a very a pretty easy solution to do that. In the article, he says, with a native resolution of 1920 by 1080, 4 samples would mean that the GPU renders the scene at 3840 by 2160 before bringing it back down to its original size. He also says multi-sampling is a bit different in that it samples groups of adjacent pixels together instead of individually. And this saves precious processing power, but sacrifices minor details in exchange for better performance. So that's the first term. Then the next thing is something called anisotropic filtering. Now, anisotropic or anisotropic, you say tropic, I say tropic, filtering is anti-aliasing's little brother, I guess. While AA smooths out jagged edges, anisotropic filtering adds detail to what would otherwise be blurry, faraway objects. Okay. Now, to save resources, distant objects are rendered with lower resolution textures. These less detailed surfaces can eventually become blurry when viewed at an angle. Texture filtering solves this problem by raising the level of detail in faraway textures to an adequate level. Basic isotropic filtering uses a square pattern that isn't appropriate for fixed perspectives. Anisotropic filtering steps in to use rectangular or trapezoidal patterns to improve the textures. Now, just like anti-aliasing, anisotropic filtering can be resource intensive, so this is a setting you'll want to pay particular attention to. Raising the setting from values like 1 time or 2 time increases the detail in distant textures and thus uses more processing power. Okay.
I've seen video games where, you know, sometimes my friends they'll be playing video games that have these settings natively. Like they'll just be, you know, turned on from the get-go, and then they don't really know what they mean, so they won't turn them off, or they won't play with them. And then they're getting, you know, 14, 15 frames per second. You go in and you turn these off, and anti-aliasing alone, that takes huge amounts of processing power. So if you turn that off and you turn off this this anisotropic filtering, and you're going to be saving a lot of processing power. And yes, it may look a little bit less nice, but the trade-off is you're going to be able to play it in a in a more responsive manner.
Yeah, the more processing your CPU or GPU has to do, obviously, the more work, and it's going to slow things down, depending upon what kind of power you have in the graphics card and the processor in your computer, and of course memory on it all. It's always a trade-off. You can get better visuals, but you're going to get slower performance. You will reduce the visuals, and you get better performance.
See, but here's the thing. Here's the nice thing about knowing all of the different, the qualities of where you're getting. Anti-aliasing, it makes some difference, but it's not. But it probably is not going to be the biggest impact for your CPU performance. Like, you could probably turn that off and then play with some of the other settings that aren't going to tax your CPU as much, but it's going to look a lot better with those other settings. So knowing what they do and what they change and how much they affect your processor, you want to know what's going to give you the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what it comes down to. You just have to decide which is find that happy medium between both, where it doesn't slow things down to a crawl, and at the same time you're not looking at little X stick men. You've got
like this next section of the article is about texture quality.
Yes.
And texture quality is just like what it sounds like. It's the difference from a tree looking like a 6-sided hexagon with weird looking leaves, and it's the difference between that and an actual tree looking like a tree in a video game, where it renders each individual leaf, it renders the color on the bark, it renders all the little grooves and everything like that. It's the texture. And that's probably, like, if you ever see like a really, really great picture from a video game, or a screen capture from a video game, it's generally, they have just the texture settings set to through the roof. So if you want your game to look better, you're going to want higher textures.
Yeah. I'm looking at this example here, where they show a grassy field, and with the low texture on, it looks like you can tell it's a grassy field. I mean, it looks fine. But when you turn on the higher textures, then the grass is much richer and fuller. Now, if maybe you're playing a golfing game or something, that might be important. But if you're doing an assault game and you're just crawling up to a place, I don't think the way the grass looks is so much on your mind.
Oh, it matters. really, you think these settings really don't matter, and then you go from someone, because I've seen it before. I'll play something because I just have a better computer than most of my friends do. I'll be playing something on full max settings, and I'll be just chugging along, and then they'll come from playing something on completely low settings so they can get that frames per second up, where they can actually play the game. But the difference between a all high settings to all low settings is night and day for most games.
Wow. Now, unlike model quality, it says raising texture quality relies more on video RAM, VRAM, than it does on your GPU's processing power. So the more video RAM that you have on your graphics card, this is not your CPU, like your normal RAM that you have, but the VRAM, the video RAM on your graphics card, the more video RAM you have, obviously you can get better textures. This is one of the reasons. Why do I need 512 megabytes of RAM on my card? Well, because you can get better textures. Here's a perfect example of how that translates into something what you're seeing. Okay.
Yep.
The next item is called lighting quality, low lighting or ultra lighting. And the example they show here, the difference between the ultra and low lighting is pretty drastic, with ultra lighting effects being smoother and more realistic. Adjusting the lighting quality setting affects the number of light sources and their effects on the environment. It's an incredibly complicated topic, by the way. Fortunately, raising or lowering lighting quality usually has a fairly obvious effect on the game. Low settings usually reduce light to basic points and can cause weird reflections. Unfortunately, raising lighting quality has a drastic effect on performance because the complex calculations that it takes to make these adjustments behind the scene to realistically light the scene is incredibly complex. So, but they show examples of low lighting and ultra lighting.
Like when you talk about lighting, it's not just like, oh, there's a light source here and there's a light source there, and that's how it interacts with the environment. When you go between low, it's just like, okay, well, this one's receiving this amount of light, so we're going to increase the texture shade by 30%. This one is pretty far away from the window, so it's only going to get like a 10% increase. But with ultra lighting, you're talking about the actual sunbeams, you're talking about the reflections, you're talking about the area that's actually shining on. Like, it's going to make a huge difference. And when you get those low settings, you're going to get a lot more jagged lines in lighting, and it's just going to look especially if you're playing like an RPG or something like that, something where you try to immerse yourself. When the lighting isn't right, you like immediately pick it out. It's like, okay, that's pretty bad lighting.
And
so
that can affect the quality of the game. There's no question about it. Or the mood of the game. You're trying to get into it, obviously. That certainly affects the just your suspension of disbelief, I guess, when you're playing a game.
Yep, which kind of piggybacks onto the next section real quick, which is shadow quality. Shadow quality, like if you have it all the way low in some video games, like there will be like a little bit of a shadow underneath someone or underneath objects. So it'll be like a little grayed out area. It's like, okay, well, light's obviously not getting to it, therefore you get a little bit of a shadow. But shadow technology has come a long way in the past 5-6 years, where nowadays they actually take an outline of whatever object the light source is shining on, and just like in real life, if you have a flashlight and you hold your hand up to the wall, it's going to make an outline of your hand. Same thing is happening in video games, where they know where the light source is and they know the shape of the object, so it casts that exact shadow on the ground. But that takes a lot of processing power, and that gets complex. You can do it for everything in your game. If you have a tree that has 10,000 leaves rendered in it, you can have, if you have enough horsepower, have the shadows actually render for each of those leaves through the light source.
Wow.
So with low shadows, you're just going to get like, okay, yeah, there's a little bit of blurry on the ground, hence a shadow. If you do ultra, or really, really high shadow settings, everything from a light post to a person to a leaf to a bench, everything is going to have a distinct shadow like it would in real life.
Yep, and this is very true. And again, it just goes down to a nice balance between what you can tolerate and what your computer can tolerate.
But you're starting to see the night and day of, sure, you can play something on completely low settings, but as soon as you see it on completely high settings, it's a completely different game, because think about the way the textures work, think about the way the light source works, the shadows, everything. They're going to look crazy, they're not going to look all that similar because there's so much more horsepower going into it.
This is very true. This is very true. And the last one that we're going to be talking about here, there's actually a lot more, but we're just going to, there's one called VSync, which is vertical synchronization. But this is basically a holdover from the era of CRT monitors. You remember what a CRT monitor was, it had the big tube in it, But I don't think I've ever seen one for such a long time. Everybody has flat screens today. To put it simply, VSync synchronizes your monitor and your graphics card to eliminate what's known as tearing effects. Without it, your video card is free to render frames as soon as it's able, which means that it might very well be presenting a scene that hasn't yet been fully updated on your screen. This tearing, imagine a photo literally torn in half and reattached slightly askew, usually happens when your frame rate far exceeds the refresh rate of your monitor. Unless you've got a particularly capable monitor, your refresh rate is probably capped at 60 hertz, which means that you ideally want a constant 60 frames per second. Unfortunately, VSync isn't without a downside. With its downside, everything has its downside. Particularly astute gamers might notice a bit of added latency when moving the mouse cursor or entering keyboard commands. There's also a performance cost associated with the synchronization, which means that if you're barely averaging 60 frames a second, you'll probably just be fine keeping VSync off. So that's it. So that's just a kind of a quick update. It makes an interesting story. We thought you'd find it interesting for the first story for tonight. It's not news, but it's certainly information, and because we're sort of like in do-it-yourself mode here for the month of February.
If you know what you're talking about, you'll be better off. And even myself, I really didn't know what vertical sync was. I knew whether the game looked better with it on or off, but I really didn't know what it did. So I'm sure there are lots of people out there that did not know what anisotropic filtering is. But now you do.
Now you do. Okay.
Now you do. Okay, so this next article, how about this one? I saw this one, completely dominate the, I won't say news cycle, but pretty much everyone had their own take on it. This particular one I got from Maxim PC, Sean Knight, and Valve to demo a Steam virtual reality and new living room devices at the Global Developers Conference.
Okay.
Yeah, so Valve, the juggernaut of electronic game distribution, is getting into the virtual reality world.
Yep.
So, the fight for the living room just got bigger. Unlike most devices and publishers that tend to inundate consumers with trailers, screenshots, developer diaries, and press releases to keep their games in the public eye, Valve tends to stay quiet. So while we know that the company has been working on its Steam machines and perfecting its Steam controller, it appears that these devices weren't the only things the company has been working on. In fact, Valve will be unveiling a selection of new living room devices and a Steam VR hardware system at the Global Developers Conference, while demonstrating its Steam machine and finalized Steam controller. They have a quote here saying that Steam is bringing the best games and user-generated content to exciting new destinations. At GDC 2015, we'll be giving demos of the refined Steam controller, new living room devices, and a previously unannounced Steam VR hardware system. So no further details regarding the new devices were provided. This is going to be between March 4th and 6th, so we're going to have to wait to actually see what they're going to be unveiling. But this is going to be a competitor to the Oculus VR. They even share some of the same research that went into it. But the company has stated that there was no interest in releasing its own VR hardware. In addition, Valve provided a few statistics about Steam, which now offer around 4,500 games, and that there is 400 million pieces of user-generated content from the Steam community, and that there are over 125 million active Steam accounts worldwide. So when Steam says that they're going to be, finalizing their consoles and working to get into the living room, that's big news when they have 125 million people already using their services.
Wow.
It's crazy. So as for the new living room devices might be, the author says that they couldn't even begin to guess. Luckily, we are rescheduled to meet at the Valve to meet with Valve at GDC, and they're going to report back very soon. But yeah, no, Steam, the juggernaut that it is, does does what it does very well. Haven't seen it do anything with their Steam machines or anything like that. They said that they were going to push games into Linux. Linux seems to be happy with it, but really it's still a fledgling project. But for once, I might be the only person to ever say this. I can't wait for the Global Developers Conference. 2015. So.
All right. Have you played Steam games at all yourself?
You're asking that question wrong.
How should I ask it?
You said, do you play Steam games? This is like you saying.
The platform.
Have you ever listened to iTunes music?
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is the platform.
Have you ever listened to iTunes song? There we go. That's it. Have you ever listened to iTunes song? Steam is a platform through which they distribute other people's games and stuff like that, and then also share user-generated and community-created content. So yes, I've been a part of their community. I still play many a game. They're probably my favorite digital distribution platform. Origin is EA's version. Blizzard has their own, and there's a couple others out there. But Steam is by and large the largest and probably handles it the best out of all of them.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. This past Friday, Symantec evidently confirmed they had an antivirus update that was behind Internet Explorer crashes. Evidently, the Symantec inadvertently crippled millions of Internet Explorer installations. Again, on Friday, a thread came up at the Norton Community Forum from a user complaining of a Norton Internet Security antivirus update breaking Internet Explorer on Windows 7 Pro 64-bit. And this is why I hold my every time I get a security update, Ben. I always hold my breath on this. Please don't break something. Please don't break something. And evidently this happened. Evidently, it soon swelled to multiple pages as droves of other users running Internet Explorer 9 and up on Windows Vista and up confirmed as much. Needless to say, they were all very angry with an antivirus update, of all things, rendering a key software completely unusable. Okay, and in some cases, forcing them to uninstall NIS, or Internet Security. To Symantec's credit, it did not take the company too long to identify the culprit and roll out a fix. Into the 8th page of the thread, and around 5 hours after its original post, reports of the issue having been fixed by a fresh update started coming in. Here's what Symantec had to say. Based on our analysis, the issue was caused by a corrupt file in the virus definition set. Symantec recreated a snapshot of the same definition package as they use a long number, and released it through our live update servers. According to the company, only 32-bit versions of the world's second most used browser were affected by the faulty update. Okay, well, still, there are a lot of 32-bit versions out there. So, but hey, it can happen to anyone. It can happen to even the best. It does. I just say that every time I do a security update, I kind of hold my breath. Please, I say, please don't break anything. Don't break anything because.
It's unfortunately I feel like the ones using Symantec antivirus as well as Internet Explorer. Unfortunately, they're probably the most vulnerable of us. They're the ones who, don't know about different browsers or anything like that. So I could see where that could cause a lot of headache. Because really, if you had, enter antivirus software here and you were using Firefox or Chrome, I feel like those users would just, launch one or the other and go on about their business. If you updated your antivirus and all of a sudden Firefox wasn't working, you'd be like, let's see if Chrome works. Oh, it does. Okay, let's use that until whatever is wrong over there gets fixed. You just brush it off. But Symantec and Internet Explorer, that's like a perfect storm.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Anyway, it's been fixed.
Okay. All right, so this next one is for all of you Oscar people out there. Not that you people are Oscar. It's Oscar are an event. Oscar are an event. Yes, why not? Microsoft Bing. Yes, in the greatest publicity stunt of the last 3 days, predicted Oscar results with surprising accuracy.
Really? How
So
accurate?
it's just adding to its resume.
How accurate? How accurate was it?
Let's find out. It's becoming increasingly difficult not to be impressed or downright spooked with the prediction engine behind Microsoft Bing's browser. For its latest feat, Bing successfully predicted most of the top winners for the 2015 Oscars, correctly identifying 20 of the 24 results for an 84% success rate. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
84%. So that alone is impressive, though it's just another notch in Bing's belt when it comes to predicting outcomes. Tapping into Bing's prediction engine, Cortana impressed during the World Cup last year by correctly picking 15 out of 16 knockout matches, including Germany's win over Argentina in the final. Its only trip was selecting Brazil to beat the Netherlands in a rather meaningless third-place match. So, by the way, I know in brackets, especially when it comes to football, people bet lots of money, lots and tons of money on their brackets. So for Bing to get it almost perfect is spooky.
Yeah.
So David Rothschild, an economist in Microsoft Research New York City lab, developed the prediction model that seems to work so well. It certainly did at the 2015 Oscars, correctly predicting the winner of Best Picture, Birdman. The categories it missed included original screenplay, animated feature, and original score and film editing. Apparently, those are the 4 areas where it was lacking. So, this isn't the first time the prediction engine has done well at the Oscars. Last year, it correctly picked 21 out of 24, and in 2013, it picked 19 out of 24. So it's batting probably close to an 84-85% correct rate. That's very impressive.
Yeah, it is. The statistical model that it used, it is impressive. What can I say?
Well, let's put it this way. Data is trumping expertise. People are not that correct, but raw data seems to be a very good indicator of outcomes.
All right, well, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to continue talking about computer news. Apple's newest iOS and Mac betas let you use diverse emoji. Let's see, also, well, we'll get back to these stories right after this. Stay with us. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major your credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MyTV. 1-866-663-MyTV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MyTV. 1-866-663-MyTV.
And we're off. Hi, it's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Lutron Caseta Smart Bridge. Not sure how you pronounce it. It's Caseta. Lutron is best known for making outlets and switches and other necessities for electrical work. They also make some of these with electronics. They can talk to the Caseta control system, which can also work with a Honeywell Wi-Fi thermostat, a Nest thermostat, and a few motorized window shades or rollers. They send a Caseta Smart Bridge, plugging it into a wall wart and a gigabit port, then fetching its app, had it running quickly. Like many home control systems, this one uses quote-unquote scenes, each denoting some combination of settings for connected stuff. You choose whether they trigger manually or on a schedule. The hub uses 430 to 440 megahertz radio with a 30-foot range, which means roughly 2,800 square feet, and it limits control to no more than 50 sensors or effectors. Bottom line, with good planning, a Lutron Caseta Smart Bridge can be programmed for secure, intelligent, automatic control of lights, shades, and more, with a smartphone that need not ever run its app again, but may for changes or direct manual control. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Yet another nice one from Marty Winston.
Lutron.
Welcome back to the... What?
Lutron. Very interesting
Lutron.
company. Yeah, they make some nice stuff.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, for sure. So, welcome back to the Computer America Show. We are doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimmer Utilities. We have about another 25, 28 or so minutes, 27 minutes to go before the end of the show, so we have plenty of time to get into some more of these articles. Was it my turn to do a story or yours?
Yeah, but I
Pretty sure it was yours.
Yeah, it is mine. But I also want to mention that Adam from Malwarebytes is still in the chat room, so you have an opportunity. He's in there right now. I assume he's also listening, so he's talking to a lot of our chat people in there. So head over to the Computer America chat room and say hi to Adam.
And go bug him.
Go bug him. Okay. This story from Wired magazine: an ingenious projector that transforms kitchen tables into TVs. This is kind of cool. Now, I don't think you saw the 2013 film Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. It's a disembodied voice. Did you see that movie?
Wait, you're talking about Her?
Yeah, Her.
I saw the previews for it, and I think it won like Best Picture at like Sundance or something like that.
Yeah, it was good. I watched it. It was interesting. Okay. But the movie's omnipresent user interfaces stole the show. A new projector called Beam might not be able to conjure holographic video games, but it could help users' interfaces permeate our environments in a similar fashion. It's a small-scale projectors have been on the market for some time, but Beam is unique in that it is designed to screw into a light bulb socket while pulling double duty as an ultra-bright LED light bulb. This is a simple change to the hardware, but fundamentally changes the way the product gets used. Now, it's not a matter of buying and installing a new gadget, but rather upgrading an existing one. Beam is a happy product that wants to help make your life special and more fun, says the chief creative officer at Beam Labs. It feels like a modern lamp, but when you look closer, you notice there is more to this lamp than you thought. Beam is more than just a lamp or projector. It connects to iPhone or Android phones via Bluetooth, and an onboard computer allows it to deliver content over Wi-Fi. Obvious applications like streaming Netflix or looking at pictures were a given, but a companion app that allows for the programming of if this then that scenarios allows it to be used in new ways. That's a very powerful logical option. Every everybody started sharing ideas on where they would place Beam in their house, and almost all of them were in different locations. They were no longer limited by the traditional spots and could now freely dream up places where we would love to have a screen. Okay.
Whoa, wait, before you go any further,
Mm-hmm.
where would you have one?
On the wall?
Wow, Craig, that's so creative and different. My God. You must have spent all of 2 seconds thinking of that.
Yeah, I would have it on the wall.
See,
Why? Where would you?
I would put it in one of those bendy neck lamps that you get, they're available at like Walmart for like $10. And then I'd have it in my room, and I'd probably put it first on the ceiling, because I won't lie to you, I'm lazy. So when I have to kind of like sit and like turn my head slightly to the left, that's more effort than I'm willing to put into most TV viewing. So if I could have it and point it up at my ceiling, that'd be amazing. And then you could just kind of point it wherever you want it.
It is kind of interesting.
What if you could put it in a flashlight?
We should contact them and have them on the show.
We should.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we should do that. And maybe they can send us a couple we can try out.
Hey, Booking Goddess, get on it.
Yeah, exactly. So there it is. So they go on to say that a myriad of applications. Each designer brought their own ideas to the table. Literally, in a case of one designer who suggested that Beam could project a game of Settlers of Catan onto a kitchen table after dinner. In the kitchen, instead of precariously balancing your iPad over a bubbling cauldron of marinara sauce, a Beam mounted in a light fixture overhead could project a recipe onto a cooktop. That's interesting. They also came up with the idea of pre-recording video messages for a spouse or Airbnb guest that could be triggered at specific times on or based on predefined triggers. See, our homes are becoming increasingly connected, and the Apple Watch promises to create new kinds of interactions. Beam makes it easy to create outputs for these technologies without forcing us to constantly check our phones. At $399, Beam is not cheap, a lot more than a light bulb, but as prices fall, it's not hard to imagine this type of projector proliferating and creating a movie-like environment. Her is a superb movie that showed people that technology could be integrated in almost natural part of our lives. We didn't look at Her specifically, but in our design approach, we looked at products as if they would have a personality of their own. So that's the approach that they took. Again, this is from the CEO of Beam. Beam is raising funds on Kickstarter until March 24th, and is also inviting developers to come up with new applications for the device. Oh, so it's not really out yet. It's a Kickstarter project. Okay. Well,
it's a nice idea, though.
Yeah, it is. I like it.
And it's not like we've never had a company on that was just through the Kickstarting phase.
That's true. That's very true. Okay.
Next story. How about powerful plants makes eating vegetables cool? Nah, no, that's too boring. Intel's in the news with some new less than 10 nanometer architecture.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Very impressive. But instead, we're going to do something from our friends over at Origin PC. Origin PC, by the way, was the ones who actually designed and built the computer that I'm currently using. It's a beautiful machine, and they make really, really nice gaming computers, and they even have some of the crazy designs out there where they will actually build in gaming consoles into computer cases, like giant desktop cases, so you can play console games and computer games seamlessly through one computer. So, but apparently they have a whole new system that they've just announced. So, this one is from TechHive, and Origin Omega brings hardcore gaming credibility to the home theater PC. So as Valve continues to fiddle with SteamOS, the key cog in the Steam Machine initiative announced way back in CES 2014, system builders have been taking matters into their own hands. The author says that we've seen various small form factor gaming PCs that boot directly into Steam's big picture mode, a 10-foot user interface design for big screen TVs. Many of the options just have been smaller versions of big desktops, while others look more like an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4 console. Origin PC, though, is taking a whole different approach with its new Omega line, a new generation of home theater PCs that were first spied at CES 2015. And unlike Origin's own Kronos line and the majority of SFF gaming PCs currently available, the Omega is designed specifically for living room deployment, with a choice of legitimate HTPC enclosures that will look right at home in an AV rack. These are understated square and rectangular cases that forego the usual LED light show, although Origin does offer the option for customized airbrush paints in any design and color. And they actually have a picture here. It kind of looks like, if you remember what they look like, an old school VCR. They're big, blocky. They have that nice brush metal look to them, and they don't have like all the bells and whistles that normal gaming PCs do. They said that the prices start at $1,000 for a modest configuration consisting of a Pentium Anniversary Edition dual-core processor, overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz, smoking fast. An Asus H97 Mini ITX motherboard, 8 gigs of RAM, 500 gigabyte hard drive, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960, and a 450 watt power supply. All very good specs, especially for $1,000. So, you know, the hardcore gamers with deeper pockets have the option to configure more. They can upgrade pretty much everything, including up to 14 terabytes of storage capacity. Crazy.
Wow.
So, and, you know, they said, they said that on the OS side, the Omega can boot directly into Steam's Big Picture mode with the optional mouse emulation software for Xbox controllers as a stopgap solution until Steam OS finally arrives, which the Omega will also support. Likewise, movie buffs can stick with Windows 8.1 for easy access to Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon Instant Video, and other video streaming services. So this is, this is Origin PC's introduction to the home theater. You put in the middle, you have your controller, and you can use it just as a very, very powerful computer that is also suitable for, you know, streaming movies, playing games, listening to music, anything a PC can do. This just does it in a nice looking form factor in your, you know, entertainment space.
Very nice. Very nice.
We should have Origin PC on as well.
Exactly.
To talk about it.
I think so. Hey, I know we're shopping for a TV, and this from CNET. LG's got for 2050 has just introduced their 4K OLED TV, starting at $5,000. Okay. LG's new 4K resolution OLED TVs were expected to cost a mint, and according to early pricing leaked by the vendor's site, they do. They've listed a number of their 2015 OLED TVs on their website. The least expensive is a 55-inch flat model for $5,000 or for $4,999. Okay. The curved version is listed $500 more at $54.99. And expected availability is listed as March 9th. CNET reached out to LG and was told that LG couldn't confirm the prices at this time. He expects an official word from the company soon. There's also a soundbar-equipped 65-inch version. Basically, all these TVs are really, really cool, and they're really, really expensive.
They're expensive, but think about what these TVs were just 2 years ago when they were first being debuted. I think like the first time we saw like a 4K OLED TV at CES. 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago, they were going for $25,000.
That's true, they were.
$25,000. The price has come down like fivefold.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, like, we said it back then, and we're going to say it again now. If you're an early adopter, you're going to be paying a absolute premium for technology that's going to cost a fraction of what it does when it first comes out in just 2 or 3 years. The price is going to come down tremendously. So, you may be getting the latest and greatest, but you're paying an absolute premium for it.
Well, we're looking at a 4K TV now, 50-inch Vizio, 4K resolution, 120. Was it the refresh rate's 120 hertz? Beautiful TV. It's selling for under $700.
Yep.
Under $700, they have a newer version at 240 refresh rate. That's what the refresh rate, twice, the 120 and 240, and that sells for about $1,100, $1,200. So.
Yeah, but none of those are, of course, OLED. OLED is still in the, I won't say experimental stages, but like they're selling them. But if you get OLED, you're going to be paying, like, again, the premium price for it.
Well, what about the quantum dot?
That is not in TVs yet.
Yeah, that's going to.
We just heard about the first. We just heard about the first television actually using that at CES. I forget who's actually peddling it, but as a new technology for the industry in general, I'm sure we're going to hear more about that in the coming years.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
Your turn. Yep. My turn. So. How about this next one? There's one about Apple, and Craig, what have you been waiting from Apple for the longest time?
A car.
No. Really? No, you.
A watch.
No, no.
TV.
Television. You've been waiting for a TV. Wow. You're really bad at knowing what you want.
Yeah.
But apparently they might be getting into the self-driving car racket, or even getting into some form of operating system for self-driving cars. In which case, no, I take it back. Operating system, or even batteries, and providing batteries for cars. So in some way, Apple is trying to get their foot in the door with this whole new tech car boom going on.
Right.
Which makes sense because they have a lot of capital to throw around, and it's time for them to invest that capital into something. So why not cars? Because those seem to be all the rage, especially buzzwords. But instead, how about this one? We haven't really talked much about this, and yet it's becoming a reality more and more. It's called Project Aura. Everything we know about Google's modular phone. This one from CNET, Jessica Dulcourt, and what exactly is a modular phone, and why would you want one? The author says that they take a look at all the things they know and don't with this build-it-yourself smartphone design. So if you've ever wished you could pick from a pile of parts and make your own smartphone, Project Aura is your Android wish come true. Run out of Google's Advanced Technology and Projects Group, ATAP, Aura proposes that phone owners should be able to mix and match components to build the phone that they own, rather than accept whatever the phone makers kind of push at you. So if you're unfamiliar with the concept, here's what we know so far about Google's intriguing DIY smartphone. And they said that the prototype stage so far, Aura looks like a basic rectangular frame, which they call an endoskeleton, that's subdivided into smaller rectangle buckets. On the back are circuit boards and contacts. It's there that you'll snap in rectangular bricks from each module, say one block for an 8 megapixel camera, and another block for the processor. You can also slide in the screen you want to and add other more specialized equipment, say a medical or gaming add-on that's far too niche for mainstream phones. There are different size frames for smaller and larger handsets. So, just like I said, there's places where you can slide in different module nodes. So let's say if you want more memory in your phone, you would slide in, 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 memory nodes. And let's say if you wanted a higher quality camera, you'd go buy the higher quality, slide out your old lower quality camera, and slide in the new one. Or if you wanted more processing power, you slide in a second processor. Yep. You can do all these kinds of things, and it's just kind of like, taking pieces that you don't want and putting new ones in. It's making the phone, just like it sounds like, modular, where you replace modules. So, so here's why you care. Project Aura is the ultimate form of customization.
Yep.
You can tailor your phone to do exactly what you want. If you don't want to take pictures at all, throw away the camera, add more memory, add more speed, add some other kind of add-on. If you maybe you need a heart rate monitor, they'll have those modules on there as well. You can slap that in and call it a day. It's not just having a phone, but it's also having the ability to add or remove, pieces of the phone at will, which at this point, either your phone does something or it doesn't. That's just how it is, and then usually you're locked into a 2-year plan, and you don't get a new phone for another 2 years. This is taking customization to a whole new level. So, they haven't said anything about how much the Aura phone will cost. They said that it's going to range between $50 and $100 for the entry level, and of course, as soon as this market, if this market comes out and is actually as strong as they think it's going to be, the basic model, you're probably going to be adding a lot more to that. So it's like $100 for the exoskeleton and basic stuff, but let's say you wanted premium memory, or you wanted a premium processor, or a premium camera, though you would buy individual nodes instead of the entire phone. So it starts at 100, and then it would, of course, work its way up from there. And so and the article continues for a bit longer. It's still very much in the concept phase, so I can't wait for it to come out, and I'm sure we're going to cover it as soon as they announce something official.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind of phone that really hasn't been tackled yet. We hear about Android and how there's 50 different phones running Android, but you just have to choose one of those 50. This is the first time where you are actually going to be able to get a phone and make the phone you want.
Yep, that is kind of it. It's sort of like very, very different. We'll just have to wait and see if it finally makes it to fruition. But it looks very, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, I wanted to do this story here. This is from CNET also. There are a couple of doorbells out that are video doorbells. One's called Ring, and there's one called Skybell. Well, evidently there's another one coming out called from Bird Home Automation called the Doorbird Video Doorbell. Sells for $350. Okay, you can pre-order it for $299. It's going to ship in March. Bird Home Automation is based in Berlin, and its smart doorbell will be available internationally. Okay. Like other video doorbells, Doorbird is designed to act as a digital peephole, so you can see who's at your front door on a Wi-Fi or cellular connected Android or iOS device. Whether someone physically rings the buzzer or simply walks within range of the built-in motion sensor, Doorbird is supposed to send out a push notification alerting you to their presence. From there, you have the option to answer the call, pull up a live video feed, and chat with your guest via the two-way talk function, or ignore it. Either way, Doorbird promises to take a photo of the action and maintain a log of the 20 most recent visitors. Cloud video storage will be available after the initial product launch, and Bird Home Automation alludes to future HomeKit and third-party product integrations, although it hasn't announced specifics just yet. The outdoor-rated smart doorbell has an operating temperature range of -4 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty good range. And a night vision mode to capture activity when it's dark. The company says that the installation process is simple, and its Bird Guard add-on cameras are available as optional accessories for additionally $199 each one. Doorbird won't hit retail until spring, but we've already requested a review unit, and that's and the company's seen this, and they're going to take a look at it. But what do you think? Would you want? I mean, right now we use a peephole. Do you think this would be a good thing to have?
I've never really been one for home security. Maybe I'm one of those hippie people that believes in humanity. Very rarely is someone who wants to do harm to you, going to ring the doorbell, wait, and just wait there. So I I get it from a security standpoint. There is nothing better than a camera. It records, it gets an accurate picture, and you know exactly what's on the other side. Much better than a people, because in people sometimes they can see you walk up to the door, they can see you in the background, that kind of thing, yada yada. But a camera records and knows everything. But at the same token, it's like, I don't know, how much protection does one person really need? Are you the Pope? Yes or no? And do you really need this level of security? So, I don't see it as really that much of a convenience, more of a security standpoint. And if you're concerned, this is amazing. If you're not concerned about security, whatever.
Well, I think you basically summed it up. I think that's pretty much it.
I have heard of a couple people using Raspberry Pis. Yes, we've talked about them on the show before. We talked about with Marcel Gagne. People are actually building their own DIY doorbells, like camera doorbells. They will take a Raspberry Pi and connect it to a Wi-Fi connection and have a webcam built in. And using the Raspberry Pi, they actually program the webcam to a certain IP address that they have access to, and then they can look through the webcam. They can turn it on and off remotely, and they use that as a solution. It's a bit more nitty-gritty DIY kind of deal, but it accomplishes the same thing for a fraction of the cost. So people are obviously trying to find ways to do it. I'm just right now questioning the need to
90 seconds.
Well, I guess we're just about out of time here. I want to thank our guest, Adam Kujawa, from the head of Malware Intelligence for Malwarebytes on the show. He's actually still in the chat room, talking away. And Adam, thanks again for being with us here on the program. It was a lot of fun and certainly enlightening. Thanks for being here. Now, tomorrow night,
60 seconds.
we're going to have ColorWorks, which is about gaming in the cloud. They got something called Cloud Build, which is really interesting. You're going to find this one interesting, Ben. And then in the second hour, we're going to have Edward Zarek, who is a do-it-yourselfer kind of guy. Interesting. He actually built, get this, Ben, a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One in one unit. He combined them in one unit. Go figure that.
See, I also combined two units. It's a cat and a dog in one sack, and it did not go well.
So we'll have them on tomorrow night. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
10 seconds.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay.
So, good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to us at the Computer America Show.
Yeah, and we'll see you all tomorrow night. And this guy, again, I'm not making it up. He actually combined a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One in one unit. So he's got all kinds of great projects and things. He said we're going to have him on tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting show. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.